Hey everyone. Sorry about you guys. Hello. Welcome to the pre-show.
No, hey Russ, you see the label has moved over to your head.
I know.
Yes, I moved the label.
So you can see this beautiful visage right here. All of it.
It's unpredictable.
Yeah,
As is the lighting in my room.
Hold on. I can do this. I can do all kinds of things.
Well, don't.
Just trying to move you into different spots. There we go.
Keep moving Mike to the left.
I can't for some reason I can't move him any further.
That's not accurate. You have to move me to the right. By the way, I was in my boredom, I was flipping through Hulu this morning. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Eck. And there was a documentary on Mike Wallace, who was, he's a pretty interesting character, obviously.
Yeah, I only know Chris Wallace. I never heard of Mike. I'm kidding. Go ahead. I'm kidding.
And he interviewed our current president back in like 82 or 83, like when Trump was like in his 30s. And when he asked him the question of, do you want to go into politics? He's like, no, of course not. No. I just found it like completely. Yeah. I just laughed out loud because he was so certain about that, and then 35 years later he's president. So it's pre-show. Go ahead, Russ.
So the pre-show is the NHLPA signs an agreement, a CBA, and then Eric Reed, who was a guy that was a holdout. I actually think he's a smart guy. I know some people tag him as a troublemaker because he was a holdout and he was kneeling during this anthem. I don't care about any of that. I only care that his lawyer seems to have allegedly found some verbiage in the new agreement that doesn't help the players on the back end of disability. Mm-hmm. And so he is saying they should void the agreement. And
good luck.
Reuters talked about it. They published it. It will be very interesting to see what happens with this because, again, this is a situation where this is a league that already has a bad reputation for not taking care of its players after the fact. And it took years and years and years and lawsuits and lawsuits and lawsuits just to get whatever the last agreement was.
Well, I'll say this right now. Like I brought up the fact that he was the one linked to Kaepernick, not because I was like sort of outing him, but because I will bet you anything that the media arm of the NFL that will get circulated out there very quickly to sort of knock him down in terms of he's a rabble rouser, he's a pain in the ass. That's what he is.
Well, that's why the lawyer's doing it, right? Because
his name was in that article that you sent me. His name is prominent.
It is, but that's why the lawyer's sort of standing out because he's the one who's alleging the verbiage changed from what the players saw to what was actually published afterwards. Right. And it'll be very interesting to see what happens with this because right now, all leagues are going through similar things, not as severe, but like baseball, they came up with an agreement, players with service time. We've talked about that, but they're all getting paid. Even minor leaguers are getting paid for a certain amount of time, even though the pay is all horrible and it's always been horrible.
Right.
And they're just getting paid anyhow. And getting close to having to do this.
Yeah, and we can sort of morph this into what I mentioned yesterday. And if you should read Pierre LeBrun's piece in The Athletic this morning because he talks about the fact that, it's almost in a good spot that the NHL and the NHLPA were negotiating already on the new CBA. And, we don't know how far apart they are. But the thing is that because of the wide gulf that there's going to be in terms of escrow, terms of revenue, that a new CBA could spread out the deficit over the length of the deal, like say it's 6 years or 7 years, instead of it all being one lump sum and then all the players getting a 35% escrow for 1 year. They can negotiate the spread out of the deficit over a number of years. It won't hurt them as much. And then if the NHL comes back as a main profit center like at the way they were doing before this, then they can just it'll pass quickly or it'll be a lot less painful than it was.
I'll say this: I'm reading from different teams now. Besides the workers in the buildings being laid off and being paid to a certain extent, or some not being paid at all, that executives had to take massive cuts too. And we don't really talk about them. We were all talking about the workers, and not every executive is a millionaire either.
Yeah,
let's not all of them are former players. Not all of them are even 50, 60-year-old guys that have tons of money in the bank. So that's another thing now where people who work in the building, they're starting to lose jobs. So it's getting real.
No, it's definitely real. I mean, amazing. I feel lucky to have a job.
Same here.
And it's just really, it's the bottom line. I mean, and everything's getting killed. I mean, we're getting killed site-wise, and stuff like that. So we're all gonna everything is going to suffer. Hopefully, it doesn't continue all that long. And hopefully, and especially obviously for the people who are healthy, but also, I mean, it's an economic thing.
Well, I just to provide a little bit of levity before we start the show. I mean, the NHL they sent out notifications yesterday. They had 4 players from like the Atlantic Division. Yesterday they did 2 conference calls on Zoom, for like 40 minutes, and the one had John Tavares, Dylan Larkin, Brady Tkachuk, and Zdeno Chara. And I mean, most of these guys, I mean, they sort of let their hair down a little bit, but Tavares is very, he's a very smart guy, and does not, he's just, I think he keeps his cards close to the vest, and he was asked the question. John Delapina was doing the interviewing, and he asked, like, who would you want to be quarantined with? And he said Mitch Marner and Justin Hall because their personalities, and he wouldn't answer who he wouldn't want to be quarantined with. But when they came to Zdeno Chara, he said, I think Charlie Coyle, and I can't remember the other player, but when he said who he wouldn't want to be, it was Tuukka Rask, and the reason he gave was because his farts smell. And he says when he eats chicken wings, his gas smells bad. So I mean, Zdeno Chara sort of got it. It's like, okay, but who's gonna mess with Zdeno Chara? Who's gonna like say, oh, you can't say Nobody. That. I'm Zdeno Chara. I could kick your ass. So don't worry.
Nobody is. I guess I should give the one bit of real hockey news before we start the show, since it's all reminiscent.
Start the show, and then let's get right to
start the show.
Okay.
What's this? We go there. Okay. All right, ready?
It's the opposite way, but go ahead.
It's supposed to be the opposite. Anyway, we'll do this thing.
Okay.
Why not? Okay. Hello, Hockey World. It is Tuesday, March 31st, 2020.
I'm Michael Agello, and I do not have Tuukka Rask's problem.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Mecklin. And can we just cancel April Fool's Day this year, tomorrow? I mean, can we just do that? I mean,
it feels like it should be canceled.
Well,
it won't be, though. Somebody's going to do something.
But I'm Mecklin. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. It's a podcast that comes every Monday through Friday to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. We do have a lot to talk about today. We actually have an official hockey signing, so let's start there. Russ, go ahead.
Yeah, so Tyler Madden signs with the Kings. Now, remember, he was a Canucks draft pick, but he got traded in the Toffoli deal. This is, again, I'm telling you, I will use the words of a former president, read my lips. In 3 years, they're going to be a playoff quality team.
No new taxes.
Now,
the Kings
president get it wrong.
The Keys have made some really good moves, and they have some really good young players. And we even saw that, actually, if you remember back when we were playing hockey. The Kings were hot as hell. Like they were flying, and they'd won 8 games in a row or something like that.
They've got their young goalie. They've got a stream of young centers. Yeah. I watched Madden the last few years when Bean Potts in Northeastern. He's a good player, man. He's fast. He's smart. Yeah. Is he small and wiry? Yes. But you know what? He'll get stronger. But he knows how to play the game of hockey, and he could score.
Yeah, they're not going to insert him in the lineup right away. I mean, they'll let him, let him develop in Ontario for a year or two and get stronger. But this is the thing that I like about, and like I said, I liked the deals from both sides that the Leafs and the Kings made. The Kings got a first-round pick for Muzzin. They got a second and a third for Campbell and for Clifford. So this is what Mike Fuda and I can't remember the other the guy who's in their scouting area, Russ.
Mark Yannetti.
Marchinetti. This is what he has to work with the next 2 years. In 2020, a 1, 3 2s, 2 3s, and 2 4s. In 2021, a 1, 2 2s, 2 3s, and 2 4s. That's pretty damn good.
That's currency, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of currency. You can do a lot with that, and because they have a lot of young players, as we talked about already. So
right.
One last quick thing on Sirius. We went back and reminisced about the 2015 draft, and a couple of shows ago on Stick to Hockey, we brought that up as being tremendous, and it's actually getting better. But I went and looked at it was on Hockey Buzz. I gave you my top 10 at the time for that draft, and everybody wonders how guys fall and everything else. And at the end of the day, my summation was with that draft, speed was good, but they still valued size over speed even in 2015. You can look at the picks and see that. The Leafs were the one oddball, and I had Marner ranked 8th, which I think anytime you're within 5 picks of a guy ranking, you're in good shape.
Sure.
But I did say the Leafs were sort of like the oddball when they took Marner because they easily could have gone with Hanifin, Werenski, one of those bigger defensemen, and everybody thought they would, and they didn't. They had the guts not to. That
was purely Mark Hunter. That was over the protestations of Mike Babcock. He wanted Hanifin. Yeah, and now we have breaking news here. Okay. Of course, coronavirus connected. Darren Drager reports the NHL has extended the team's self-isolation period to April 15th. So
it's going to get extended beyond that too. Let's be realistic.
Well, yes and no. I mean, they may not do it, but they, what I'm saying, that they may not say we're saying you have to do it, but just everybody is basically doing that. So there you go.
Well, the U.S. is to the end of April, so I think that we're safe to say we're at the end of April.
Yeah, I think it's end of April, the earliest, just for them to be able to work out.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
I honestly think realistically we're not playing until July, and I think that's I don't think that's a big deal. I think that's okay. I think you can still get this in July and August and September, but I think that's realistic.
I mean, here's what I wonder though, and I don't know if you guys have wondered this. So with WrestleMania going on at the WWE Training Center, there are people there. There are players, wrestlers touching other wrestlers. The NHL and all the other leagues are not even letting players come to the building and work out.
Right.
Yet they're marching through there on show nights and having a show. Now, maybe they only have a certain amount of people in the building when they're in there actually wrestling, but they're actually still doing it. It does make you wonder.
It's really stupid. I mean, to be honest, it's just dumb on their part because honestly, look at what's going on. You don't know, even if you test these guys, you could still have something.
Right.
It's like those guys who are wrestling. I mean, I'm sure they're being tested before they go out there. I would venture to.
They might be just doing the thermometer test, Yeah.
Well, you have no idea. You have no idea who has and who doesn't have. I mean, it's ridiculous. Honestly.
I heard the proposal of having like all the teams centralized in 1 or 2 locations. To like the NBA was talking about, like putting all the teams in Las Vegas.
Right.
Place, having the games played in one place.
Well, when I said that, you guys shot that down.
Right. Well, but there's only one problem with that. I am shooting it down. There's only one problem with that. How long will it take for them to play all those games? You can only play 3 or 4. What are you going to do? Play the games around the clock?
I mean, you could.
No, but
you can play like 4 games a day. Really,
you could play 4 games a day realistically.
The Olympics.
And as an example, let's say you're in Chicago. Let's just say they decide Chicago's a good place. They could have teams bust from 2 towns over. They don't all have to be in Chicago.
Yeah.
Right, but the idea here is sequester them away so they don't get sick.
Right.
That's the whole.
Honestly, all right, so if we go back to my hotel days, this one's easily solved if you think about it. Bob Dylan once stayed at a hotel of mine, and he asked for the entire floor to be vacated. Now, he didn't want to pay for the entire floor, which, of course, is a great trick by Bob Dylan, right? But my hotel caved, and they did it. So he basically had, like, a whole floor to himself. If you just give NHL teams a couple of floors to themselves, you can sequester them that way because hotels are not jam-packed right now. So I think that's actually easy to do right now.
Especially in a place like Vegas, obviously.
Right. Yeah, if you did it in Vegas, as
plenty of hotels, plenty of floors.
And then basically you're playing the games without crowds, but you're getting them done, and it's a product for TV.
Well, it's something for people. It gives people something to look forward to.
It does give some people something to look forward to rather than what they're going to eat tomorrow or when's the next Hockey Buzzcast.
Exactly, which I know you guys are hanging on for dear life. So let's start into our the NHLPA today did us a little favor and they put out a little players poll. So we get to some NHL news, which is the NHLPA player poll is kind of fun because they have a good. It's good to see what the players think of other players, and it's hard to disagree with the players because they're the players. But I'm still going to disagree with them on some of these things. So
well, they're not going to be 100% honest. Can we at least say that they're not?
Yeah. They're not going to be 100% honest. We know that for sure. Thanks to those that say they look forward to the Buzzcast. We actually look forward to doing it too. So thank you very much.
Do.
I appreciate that. It's really kind.
Good for everybody.
Yeah, it's fun. It keeps us going. Otherwise, I don't know what we would do. Here we go. So let's do the screen. Here's the screen. We're going to do a screen share here. That's because the NHLPA. So the NHLPA's first question on this survey was the best forward players basing the best forward. Okay, here would be their answers. Okay, they came up with Connor McDavid at a 68.3%, and that followed by Sidney Crosby 14.4, Nathan McKinnon 6, and Nikita Kucherov 3, basically roughly 3%, right?
I don't understand why there's such a wide disparity. Like, honestly, I don't think McDavid should be that high. I don't.
Yeah, I think him and Crosby should be closer, but I think the reason is
I think it should be like 60-40.
Yeah, it's because McDavid's on the ascent, and the perception is Crosby's on the decline. Whereas, Crosby's older, I get it, but he's still great.
It should be like 55-35 based on it has to equal to 100. Like, I know someone's going to say something, but it shouldn't be this wide apart because, again, I get that McDavid is fantastic. He's fast. He's all of that, but he's proven nothing in the playoffs when Crosby has proven everything.
He's not 4.5. He's not 4.5 times better than Sidney Crosby.
Not yet. And again, I honestly think that Austin Matthews should be on this list. Really, I really do. But that's my opinion.
Well, you can use the same argument that Russ just made. He hasn't won anything. He hasn't won
anything. But I'm just saying,
I think he has to play a little longer, Ek. He has to play a little longer.
Players also are looking at just flat out skill. Players looking at skill.
Sure.
And they respect for other players when they're out there, and they realize that Connor can do things. I think that a lot of players look at Connor and they say he can do things that I can't do, and I think that really comes into play.
Okay, but just to people are now putting me in a position to defend Sidney Crosby, but I'm going to have to.
Please.
When you play great defense, when you do other things like that, Sidney Crosby does things other players can't do, including McDavid.
Right.
Yeah.
And Funky throws a name out there as Pasternak. How much more
Pasternak
does that guy have to do? Does he have to do?
I'm only going to disagree with the percentages there, but again, I would take Pasternak over Kucherov at this point. I think I would.
And where is his teammate, Draisaitl?
Well, it just goes to show you they think a lot of Draisaitl.
There's no question there's a nationality bias there built into this as well.
Or they think because on the power plays, it's a lot of McDavid and he's taking some advantage. Obviously Draisaitl could still do a lot, but Sidney Crosby is not devoid of speed. He's not devoid of skill. He's not. If you watch him in a game, he still does crazy things even at his age. I wonder if this is the younger crowd in the NHL, the younger players, just all saying McDavid.
I think
or the fact that he's the highest paid player and they just associate that with being the best.
No, I think it's the young crowd.
I think it's the young crowd. I also think that they really just are really shocked by the things you can do.
And no Ovechkin. Somebody else said no Ovechkin.
Right. All right, next up, their best defenseman. Victor Hedman wins this one over John Carlson, 37-21. And then other honorary mentions are Roman Josi, Drew Doughty, which is kind of surprising. I don't think Drew Doughty is a great defenseman anymore right now, necessarily, and Brent Burns. These are guys still getting respect from their.
I think Drew Doughty's still a great defenseman. He's just on a team that's rebuilding, so his quality sort of gets,
I don't know. I've watched some games where Drew Doughty's been pretty bad. I watch a lot of Kings games because they're like the late game often, and I'm not saying he's not a good defenseman still, but to put him in the top 5 defense in the NHL right now,
no, I don't
agree with Burns. I don't agree with Burns as a top 5.
I think Burns is the one that you could look at and say, yeah, I question it. I don't question Doughty at all, especially if you want to talk about the late season surge with the Kings. Doughty had a lot to do with it. He was putting up points. Here's the problem. I don't think I can look at these two the two leaders and say that Hedman's better than Carlson. I really can't.
That's a tough one. I think so at this point. I mean, Carlson had such a hell of a season this year. But
a career too. He really gets underrated.
His career too, no, but he's definitely stepped a couple levels. He found a couple levels. Seth Jones is a good name. I agree with you guys on that one.
It is a good name.
That's a name that should be on here. Timothy Park puts that up in our chat room.
Not Makari.
There you go.
Rookies.
Get there.
They're rookies.
Yeah, they're rookies. But Hedman,
Pietrangelo.
if I was to say who the best NHL defenseman is, I would definitely say Victor Hedman. I would definitely say it just because when you watch them play, Hedman is so crazy smooth. He really reminds you of like a better skating Chris Pronger, like Hedman in some ways. Like he does. He's so freaking confident, so big, so just incredible in every which way. I mean, it's fun. Eriksson, Carlson not on this list is kind of interesting because Carlson's always been considered one of these.
I think he's tailed off the last 2 years because
I bet he was on this list last year. I mean,
I'm sure he was.
He's been always. I mean, the NHL players always consider him high, and I think Carlson's kind of stepped up into his. Well, this Carlson has stepped up into the other Carlson.
Yeah.
I think that's and I'm not saying nothing against John Carlson. I've loved him since he was in it.
But can I point something out? Carlson averages career more points per game. This year, he's averaging more minutes than Hedman. He might even be doing it for his career.
Yeah.
The only thing they're going by here is Victor Hedman is big and he's imposing. And yes, he has all those other things. Carlson's not big and imposing, but he does everything else Hedman does and better. Honestly, Hedman's terrific, but I'm telling you, Carlson's better. I'm
not saying he isn't, but I think I can see why players who play against him or are skating against him, on the ice say, just think to themselves, this is like definitely the best, best guy out there.
Now, Eck, do you remember a couple of years after the draft, some people were calling Victor Hedman a bust?
Right.
I remember.
It took him 3 years. It's strangely enough, his career path in terms of his ascendancy to being a top defenseman is very similar to Pronger. Pronger, for the first 2 or 3 years of his career when he was in Hartford before he got traded to St. Louis, was looked upon as being a big disappointment. And then all of a sudden, he grew into himself. He got experienced. He had that hard edge to him, and he became the guy that we know now. Hedman, he didn't really bloom, I think, Russ, till that 2011 playoffs when Tampa Bay went to 7 games with Boston.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But then he definitely, that was his moment to shine. But but watching him play, like he's for several years now, he's been that way. And this next one is really kind of interesting.
Actually, by the way, Carlson does have a little bit more ice time, average ice time, career lead over Hedman too. There's nothing Carlson doesn't beat Hedman in. That's the crazy thing about all this.
No, I know, and I think that
not one category that I talked about.
Well, not statistically, but I think. I don't know. Speed-wise, it's pretty close.
I think it's close. I'm telling you, I think the problem here is, and I think it happens with the players too, they're underrating John Carlson.
Yeah, no, they are. And if you do this next year, Carlson might take it. It's like a year. This is his first year that he's really been in that spotlight. Because he's
point differences between Carlson and Hedberg this year.
Oh yeah. There's this year. This year is tough. Just
20.
Yeah, that's crazy. Carlson's having an unbelievable year, so that's what it comes down to, right? So
yeah.
All right, next up we have this one will really surprise you. The best goalie that they thought of. No, this is they have Carey Price at 41.55.
This is sort of like I use this
as a reputation one.
Yeah, this is like the Gold Glove in baseball, right?
Yeah.
Like it's 3 years after being the best defensive shortstop or one of the best defensive shortstop, Ozzie Smith was still winning Gold Gloves when his range was gone and his arm was shot.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm not saying Carey Price is shot, but I'm saying Carey Price is not the goalie he was 3 years ago. And when you had your column about the compliance buyouts, I'm telling you right now, it's gonna be Carey Price if they do it. It would be stupid if they didn't.
Yeah, well, it's a tough one on that one, but it could be.
Honestly, how does Vasilevsky even beat out Fleury?
That I don't get completely. Yeah. Vasilevsky is crazy talented.
He is crazy talented, but Marc-Andre Fleury is a Hall of Famer, like we talked about it.
Yeah. It's just the question is just who is the best goalie. So it's really they're just talking about right now in the NHL.
Carey Price is not the best goalie,
and Sergei Bobrovsky this year is not in the top 4.
He's not anywhere.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I agree. All right, next one. This will get some people talking. If you needed to win one game, okay, who is the one player at any position you would want on your team? Here we go. So this is asked of the players. You have to win one game. Who's the one player you want? And this is what they came up with. Here they take Crosby.
Now Crosby's number one.
This is asked backwards because what this means is, okay, that means that this player answering that question is the best player right now.
Right. This is the question that matters.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, this is 511 NHLers answered this question.
Yeah, this is the question that matters. When the shit hits the fan, who do you want to be the guy? And everybody's still picking Crosby.
Right.
Yeah. Carter Hutton. I like it. Nice, Mikey. That's the one I want. Carter Hutton.
I will say this: it's nice.
By the way, I just have to mention this because Carter Hutton was central to this. I think it's the NHL or some besides us. Somebody is doing replays or doing EA NHL 20 games as if they were this actual schedule. And Mike Harrington from the Buffalo News tweeted out that Carter Hutton had given up all 7 goals in a 7-2 loss to whoever. And my response was, art imitates life, because that's what it is.
Yeah, that's about right. That's not. Now, this next one, who is the most?
I was just going to say, it's nice that they had Bergeron in there, because I think that he does deserve some of that kind of credit for that.
I'll bring it up here. The next one is who's the most complete player, and again they put Sidney Crosby here, Bergeron. But then they go to Alex.
It's asinine. It truly is.
Alex Barkov at 7, and that's pretty impressive. I mean, that's huge.
Impressive. I think
the players have for Barkov out there.
It does. I think O'Reilly should be ahead of Barkov, but I like the list.
Yeah, I mean Barkov is scoring now. Like, because remember, a few years ago, it was a question of how good offensively he was going to be. The defense part of it was never part of the question, but now he's a Selke Trophy consideration every year, and he's scoring.
Well, let's look at it this way. As great as we think Bergeron is as an overall player, Crosby's still beating him by 20%.
Right.
Yeah.
That means Crosby pretty much is the dominant player of his era, and he still has yet to be dethroned for the most part.
Well, and Crosby has 3 cups and Bergeron has 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean that's true. That's
not all on Bergeron, obviously.
No, of course not. I'm not that, but I'm just thinking that as an illustration.
And O'Reilly has 1. He's listed.
Now, next up is who's the game's best trash talker is the next one they had up. And
all right, let's see this.
The liquor.
Here we go. Mr. Brad Marchand, 25.
Yeah.
The liquor.
But then it goes to Drew Doughty.
Yeah.
Ryan Reeves and Patrick Maroon. But what's interesting is Patrick Maroon's at 3%. So basically, the top 3 guys
are the real guys.
Are those 3 guys are the guys that are trash talking like crazy?
Now, I know Flyers fans wanted to be connected for the eat up remarks and a few other things, but those are the leaders. There's no question.
Interesting thing I want to throw about this thing at NHL. NHL players are just like everyone else, right? They start off in the first one. Who's the best forward? 556 people respond. Okay.
Right.
Next one. Who's the best defenseman? 520 respond. Next up, who's the best goalie? 515 respond. Now, who's the best one player for one game? 511. Who's the most complete player? 507. Who's the best trash talker? 344.
Their attention span is
so the NHL players with nothing else to do at all. Remember, these are guys.
This was done before, Act. This was done before.
It was?
Yes, they said it was done before the pause.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. I thought thinking.
So they're all suffering from attention deficit disorder.
I just think that's pretty fun. I mean, it's like, yeah, they are. It's just like completely, because the next one has, let's see how many people, next 3 even goes down less. But okay. No, it goes up. Okay. Of all the players, past or present, who would you pay to see play? It's an interesting one. Okay, so I'll put this up here. And
here's the one I find. Here's the thing I find hilarious.
Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, make me sick. Who's the game's best trash talker? Was Marchand at 25%. Who's the game's worst trash talker? Brad Marchand.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, well, whatever. All right, so.
Oh, I missed that one. Sorry.
Yeah.
So the worst trash talker, Marchand, and Doughty again. So.
Now, Nick Cousins, that's a good one, actually.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I skipped over that one. So Nick Cousins.
And all that means is their jokes aren't as good as everybody else.
Yeah. But then here we go. So here's Gretzky and Bobby Orr.
horse crap.
No,
it's not horse crap.
I would always pay to see Gretzky play. No questions asked.
I'd pay to see Gretzky lose.
Okay, Mike, how many times did you see Bobby Orr play live?
Live, never.
Why?
Because I was 8 or I was 11.
But didn't you ask your dad to go see Bobby Orr play? I did that with Tom Seaver. My dad brought me to see him pitch.
Yeah, there you go. Well,
you're luckier than I am.
Would you like to see players' personality expressed?
Well, hold on, Eck, I want to say one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
When Gretzky finally said, "You know what? This is it for me as a Ranger," how many people, me included, went and saw as many games as they could of his last 10 games?
No, I did. I saw tons of them, and even in his last hurrah, I saw his last game in Philly.
I saw his last game in Philly. I was at that game when he scored his 100th point against the Flyers.
Yep, and even in that point, he still was Wayne Gretzky. He still had those. The Wayne Gretzky moves. He's still the Wayne Gretzky vision.
That place was electric. Warm-up.
I'm not disputing any of that. He's not as good and as impactful as Bobby Orr on this game.
Now, I'm going to tell you, I went and I saw him in New Jersey too, right?
Yep.
I was able to get tickets and parking, 2 tickets and 2 parking cheaper than I was able to get seats anywhere else on this Gretzky final tour. It was unbelievable how easy it was.
Back then in New Jersey, you could really...
I think the next one is interesting, Eck.
All right. Would you like to see players' personalities expressed on their equipment? And if so, how? All right. So 40% say that they're expressed on their skates, 4% on their sticks, 3% on their helmets.
I think skates is the way. I do.
The funny thing is that nobody's going to notice the skates.
Yes, they will.
I don't think you can put it on the skates for the reason that it really could be confusing to goalies. Like, I mean, honestly.
Oh my God, will you stop?
No, I'm serious about that. There's no question about it.
That's not real.
That is real. I tell you, like the skates, the best thing that ever happened to skates was when the bottom was I played goalie before when we just had the metal blades, and then when you had the white like Bauer type blades. And the white blades were the best thing that could ever happen because honestly, you picked up the puck better. It's just
but most skates are black, so it's tough. I mean, that's the thing. It's like it's easy to get a black puck mixed up with the.
You know what? Tough luck. We're not gearing the game towards goalies. Sorry,
I'm just saying. That's my opinion.
But it's like okay, I wouldn't mind the helmets. I mean, all the goalies have different designs on their masks.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, I wouldn't have a problem with. I agree with you on that one. Especially because it would further. I think a helmet's actually a good idea because it would further enhance. Like yesterday when we were talking about the era when players didn't wear helmets and there was something distinguishing about all of them.
Sure,
it's cool to have a distinguishing thing about a helmet with a player because people are definitely seeing that. You can.
Well, I think the Flyers still hold the record of guys who don't wear helmets. They have like 4 at least for warm-ups. But you know what? If players want to express themselves, they could just get a face tattoo. Lee can't do anything about it.
True. I would like to see helmets, though. I think helmets would be great.
Everybody's gonna be like Mike Tyson,
right?
Female hockey player in the world. This is a tight one between Marie-Philippe Poulin and Hilary Knight.
See now, all right. Here's the problem I have with this. I think there shouldn't be a tie. I think Poulin should be the winner.
I do too.
Well, she's the winner, 39 to 36. There's no tie.
No, it says close. I said it's close.
Oh, close. Yeah, I think that's correct, but. It's interesting how Kendall Coyne, who is faster than all of them and has been getting a lot of the press lately, is still a distant third. I think Hilary Knight's great. I don't think she's that much greater than Kendall Coyne Schofield, though.
Here's the thing about Kendall Coyne, and I actually I have a couple of friends like you do, Russ, who are who are female hockey players, and there was some. I mean, not like for as much as everybody loved what Kendall Coyne did at the All-Star game. I hate to say, but there were actually players out there who were like, they thought that it was like a lot. They wished that more. They were happy that the next year more female players were involved, because there's a competitiveness between those guys.
No, I get it, but I think the only reason they had her in there the first year is because they knew secretly she was going to beat some of the guys. There was nobody else you could have put in that they knew could beat some of the guys, and if she would have failed miserably that first year, nobody would have been back the second year.
No, I agree with that, but I still think there's a little bit of a backlash. No, this is being voted on by male hockey players, so I don't think that this is has anything to do with that. But
okay, but I mean, I like the list. It's a good list
too. Now, then
notice there's no goalie. Notice there's no goalie on the list.
There's some off ice questions, which is interesting.
You didn't want to comment on that?
There's no goalies. Yeah, there are no like dominant goalies right now, like that to the level of that there have been in the past with some of the goalies in women's hockey. I think I think that's my opinion at least. Off ice, would you be in favor of relaxing the dress day code similar to the NBA? 73% said they would be. Now, explain the dress code, Russ, between the differences between the NHL and the NBA, because I'm a little confused by it.
The NBA players can basically wear a
sweatsuit. Yeah,
where everyone NHL players have to come in and like
whatever they want. I think it's like a sweatsuit or a suit. I think they have a choice of like those things where the NHL players clearly don't have a choice.
Right. The NHL players come into the arena, as you see on Hockey Night in Canada all the time, off the bus wearing a suit with a tie, with slacks, dressed up.
I think they could at least relax it to the point where if they want to wear a sweatsuit, let them wear one. Who cares?
I'm totally against this. I like that the NHL holds himself to a higher standard.
You don't even do it. You're wearing a rugby shirt. Nobody wears rugby shirts anymore.
Right. You've seen me in the press box. I show up to the games always dressed up.
No, you do.
I'm not one of them.
I used to show up that same way. I have slacked a little. I wear still.
My kids are like funny about it. And the reason I did it early on was because as a blogger, I wasn't being taken seriously anyway. Right. So I'm gonna. And I told Mike this. I told all my bloggers who are credentialed. I said, we have to look above and beyond. Like we have to look completely and utterly professional all the time.
Yeah, I went out and I bought myself 4 different corduroy jackets.
Yeah.
All of them are gray. But I have for my website, if I second somebody to cover an NHL event, I say, look, you've got to wear khakis. It's got to be really nice sneakers or shoes, and it's got to be a collared shirt of some sort.
Yeah. I mean, and then things have changed, of course, but the NHL's there's so many bloggers, quote unquote, people not dressed up in the press box now, but you definitely have to have a collared shirt on.
Obviously, if it's a female reporter, which I've sent, I don't say you have to wear khakis, obviously.
No. I have had to tell some female reporters to dress down, though. Like in the early days, and now that's changed too. So
yeah.
Who's the funniest player in the NHL? The NHL players think Keith Yandel is, which is really this is kind of cool. This to me was like a surprise, kind of out of nowhere thing, because I don't really. I mean, I know I don't. And Drew Doughty's on here as second. Obviously, Drew Doughty and Brad Marchand.
Doughty is hilarious. People
find them really funny. People find Phil Kessel comes in 4th here
because he's odd. He's odd funny.
Yeah. But to Phil's credit, he's taken on the oddness of him and owned it.
Yes, he has,
and that's what I think people respect about him. Like he hasn't. A lot of players could have gotten really weird with it, and he just doesn't do that.
I mean, I'm gonna give you a contest. I have a contest, right? And if I could interview Phil, I would tell him this. If you ask the average hockey fan or even good hockey fans and us, media, name 5 things you know about Phil Kessel, I think you'd stop short at like 3.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He likes hot dogs.
He's a country music fan.
My favorite Phil Kessel moment was...
He has a dog.
My favorite Phil Kessel moment was during the USA training for the Olympics in Sochi. And I went to that. That was my favorite quick moment, happened the same day. But my favorite Phil Kessel moment was he was getting, at that point, he was getting ripped apart. I think he was in. I guess he was in Toronto.
He's still in Toronto, yeah.
Yeah, and he was very used to getting terrible press and all that stuff. And the Olympic training thing was being held at at a twin rink, like a twin practice rink somewhere. I think down by Virginia. I want to say maybe the Capitals practice facility. I think it was the Capitals.
Oh, yeah, in Kettler.
Yeah, it was Kettler. And so we're in there, and during one of the breaks, we were waiting to interview the guys. We saw Phil Kessel playing street hockey or like floor hockey out with a bunch of the kids who were waiting to go on themselves.
Yeah,
he was just out there playing it and having a blast and cracking up, and they thought it was so cool that he was playing with them. They just loved it.
Yeah, but conversely, anytime we went to a playoff game in New Jersey in the old arena, and you had to walk through the family room to get to the elevator, and all those kids were playing hockey, and they didn't stop when you walked through, it was annoying.
Oh yeah, but I know, but I just
that was annoying.
But I just liked the fact that Phil Kessel got down. He didn't, and what was cool about it is you could tell he just didn't want to talk to us. Like he'd rather be playing street hockey with them, and that was his way of doing it. Which I told.
What I say about Marchand, there are times when he's hilarious, but I don't like the moodiness of him where he's disingenuous in an interview and he goes no, and then like he says nothing bothers him. Then he posts the picture of the Stanley Cup. Like it's like that kind of stuff. You could have said something funny in the interview if you wanted to, but you were moody and you didn't feel like it.
True. I totally agree.
Yeah.
All right, let's see the best bromances in the league. It's pretty funny. All right, so David Perrin and Ryan O'Reilly.
Ryan O'Reilly is big. That's a big one.
Yeah, I think it's up there. Joe Thornton and Brett Burns.
That's massive.
Yeah, I mean that looks like the Beverly Hillbillies.
I'm surprised Austin Matthew and Mitch Marner didn't get higher because that's a good one.
Well, they're close, and that is a good bromance.
Yeah, close, yeah. Matthew Tkachuk and Drew Doughty.
I didn't know about that one.
That's not a bromance. That's a war.
That's more of a war, right? I think Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin, that's a good one. And Brad Marchand and Patrice Bergeron. You know what is not on here, which is kind of interesting, which I always found to be one of the biggest ones that I covered, was Kane and Taves. I mean,
I don't think it's that way anymore, Ek.
Maybe it has changed more, but
I think that's changed. I think there's been. I don't want to say they don't get along because they do. I don't think they're as tight as they once were.
Yeah, they must not be. I mean, early on when I did the Olympics in 2010 in Vancouver. Yeah. Kane and Taves were just ripping on each other all the time. And they were on opposite teams, and they would find each other, and there were interviews happening and stuff like that. And if Kane was being interviewed, Taves would be sneaking in the back or whatever. They were just completely loving it.
I will tell you this. I think Jamie Benn and Seguin should be higher because at the Winter Classic, when they interviewed together, it was magic. Like these guys, like they do like making fun of each other. And there was some good times there.
That's pretty good. Who's the best follow on social media? I'm surprised. I was surprised. You know, I guess Roberto Luongo is no longer considered in the NHL.
He's no longer considered.
Yeah, he's got.
He denied the connection to Strombone 1 until after.
Right.
But PK Subban gets the top list on this.
He should. I think he is number one. I love Ovechkin's number 2 because he doesn't always engage. Like once in a while, he'll pull up a picture of what's going on in his life, or his wife or something, but he always puts out his workouts, and I always watch his workouts.
And Brad Marchand gets 4% for only trolling Toronto fans because that's all he does.
I like Brett Burns, actually. He's another good one to follow on social media, really.
I didn't know Domi was that good. I'm going to follow Domi.
Yeah, I didn't know he was that good either. Which player is
Sorry. One thing about Max Domi, and I've seen this more than a few times, if there are kids around, he goes right up to the kids and starts talking to them and talking hockey to them. He's really great with kids.
That's really cool. Really, really cool. Which player is on social media but should be? Okay, so Sidney Crosby. Here we go. Interesting.
He'll never do it. He won't, and I don't blame him.
There's actually nothing to be gained by him doing it either.
I think it would probably be the most boring follow because he embraces his boredom.
Yeah, he'd be like, "Here's me."
He likes staying away from the spotlight as much as he can, for sure.
They'll have like him and McKinnon under the Cole Harbor sign.
That's right. That's exactly. It's like having Derek Jeter on social media. Derek Jeter would be the most boring follow out there because he doesn't want to say anything controversial, and neither does Crosby.
Yeah, because he's so afraid to. I mean, Sidney very well knows he represents the whole NHL when he talks, and he's
now Joe Thornton. I think should get on there because we get more of the if I score 4 goals, I'm gonna skate around naked thing. That's what we're gonna hear.
Yeah, Joe's a funny, really laid back guy though. I don't think he would like social media at all.
He won't like it.
I'm not surprised he's not on there in one bit. Like to me, it's.
And I can tell you, Bouwmeester doesn't even talk. Like, why would he want to be on social media?
Ennis is a weirdly interesting one for them to choose. I mean, Tyler Ennis. I guess this shows he's just really entertaining.
Tyler Ennis is a very funny guy.
Players think he's super funny, and then they put him on there.
In 1 year in Toronto, he was like he developed a lot of friendships with guys like Matthews, and he was very well liked in that locker room.
And like a book of Jay Bouwmeester quotes, it's like 4 pages long.
I know. My first time I met him was the rookie
guy.
Oh yeah, but the rookie thing that I met Bouwmeester as a rookie when they brought the rookies around before the draft.
Yeah,
at the NHL, like one of the first, maybe the first NHL Stanley Cup I ever followed. I ever covered. I mean, I'm thinking it might have been that Carolina Edmonton one or whatever it was. And they brought Bouwmeester in, and I had the longest talk with him, and to this day I still kind of keep in touch. He was really to me just absolutely a super nice guy, and we talked forever about how much he wanted to play EA. Like he couldn't wait to his biggest thing was I can't wait to see myself on NHL in the EA NHL game. I just wanted to see that so badly. He wanted to see himself. So I've been making myself for years. Like I've been creating myself as a player for years. All right.
I think he scored his first assist at Madison Square Garden. And I interviewed him after the game, and I was like, "Hey Jay, you got your first assist. It's Madison Square Garden. what do you think? And he's like, yeah, it was great.
Yeah, no, I know. He is definitely. I mean, at that point when I was talking to him, it was probably one of the first times he ever had to do that kind of media interview, and it was one of the first times I had ever done that media interview with a rookie. So I think we both were kind of like having a good time with it. All right, the Thomas Tuna Tatar. I did not realize that was his name at all. I didn't realize that was Nick. I mean, I knew
I never heard that one.
We all know Artemi Breadman Panarin, but I also didn't know Christian Stinky Fisher.
Well, this is the thing. I have noticed this, that hockey players normally have the worst nicknames.
It's not even. It's always. It's a guarantee.
Matthews is Matty. Mitchie for Mitch Martin. It's
I think that is their inherent lack of wanting to mock each other. Like, I mean, they'll mock the hockey players are funny because they will rip on each other endlessly when it comes to like stupid little things that someone does in the locker room before the game or whatever. They'll take each other apart with that. But when it comes to nicknames in hockey are like something that you're going to be something they're going to call for you on the ice. They're not going to have like a stupid name.
No, but we could always figure them out. Like, Wells is going to be Wellsy. Like, it's just, guys, just get more creative.
Riles for Riley, Gardy for Gardner, they're Muzzy.
I know, just get more creative.
See all the names on this one because obviously there's like the NHLPA, like 76% were other than these four. So we have a ton of
right.
Obviously, it's the best golfer among the players. Like people are going with Joe Pavelski.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah,
he had a lot of experience early in his career.
Tyler
Greg McKegg, though. Good for him.
It's Greg McKegg. Yeah,
I wouldn't have guessed that. That's awesome.
No, that's really good.
And Tyler Bozak had a lot of practice time too. Since
little known fact, if you go to my Facebook page or Twitter, Greg McKegg is the only Leaf I've ever taken a picture with.
Really?
Leaf draft pick.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yep.
I mean, who's the best hockey golfer ever, though? Was it Dan Quinn? Dan Quinn was like really, really good. Remember?
Roenick is great.
But didn't Quinn like actually play in like some tournament? Some
they all play in like
pro-ams. Yeah, that's.
No, but Quinn, I don't know. Maybe I'm forgetting. Maybe I remember Dan Quinn being pretty amazing at it.
I know the best baseball golfer was Rick Rhoden.
All right, so here's in 2009, Golf Digest did their 150 best athlete golfers. Top 3: number 1, Grant Fuhr; number 2, Brett Hull; number 3, Jeremy Roenick. So for hockey,
okay,
those were the top hockey guys. Mark Savard was the 4th in hockey. I don't know where they ranked.
And they all love the beverage cart.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, none of them. Yeah, I mean, Brett Hull to this day, my favorite memory of Brett Hull is sitting next to him in the press box and watching him eat 4 buckets of popcorn during the. Like I've never sat like he went and got popcorn and it was like his around him was just like a popcorn graveyard.
At the Stanley Cup last year was unmatched.
Well, we didn't mention him. We didn't
remember the Brett Hull stuff when they were showing him on camera last year at the Cup.
Yeah, we didn't mention it when the Stanley Cup parade happened, but he apparently made a complete and utter ass of himself at the Stanley Cup parade. He was singing the song Gloria, and he was a little bit inebriated because it was incoherent.
Let me tell you something about Brett. Since I've met Brett and Bobby, right? And Bobby, like, he was a lot of fun. He took his teeth out in an interview. Brett, you wouldn't know that this guy is a tremendous athlete, one of the best in his sport, one of the best ever. If you talk to him, he talks to you like a regular guy.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's super down to earth, and he's a great guy.
He really is.
He really let his hair. He really let his hair down. He really got into the celebrations with it.
I got to tell you, he wasn't.
Like one chance to do that. Why not? Like in my opinion,
he wasn't the only one. I mean, there were a lot of.
No one can make an official ass themselves during a victory parade. I mean, to me, that's like the mulligan day of the year.
I mean, I was talking to Keith Tkachuk when I left Game 6. We all thought St. Louis would go in there and win in St. Louis, and it'd be a great story, and they get blown out. And Keith Tkachuk was as bothered by it as anybody, as any current player. But he also said, you know what? I still think we're going to win. I would have just liked to see it happen here for the fans.
Yeah.
They're so great.
Yeah.
And that's why their former players still hang on and follow the team like that, because they wanted it for the fans so badly.
No, absolutely. I mean, and Keith is a fantastic guy.
He's a great guy. Yeah,
it's like he's completely down to earth, and one of the nicest people. Like to Eklund, as my like persona with Eklund early on, was just one of the super nicest guys to me.
Yeah,
and it was just a blast. Yeah, we didn't get to some of our greatest players of all time today. We're going to though. Our next two teams we're working on are Winnipeg and Washington. So we will get to them because we're gonna have a lot more time this week, of course, to talk, and we're gonna have some more guests coming in as well. Remember, if you enjoy the Hockey Buzzcast at all, if you do feel like it's helping you get through your day, and I know a lot of you do, and a lot of you do support us already, but if you don't support us, get a friend to support us. You already do. Just go to patreon.com/hockey and put you can put $5, $10, whatever. It all helps a ton. It makes especially during this period of time when it's harder and harder to keep everything going. We would really
at some point we're going to get heavy into the draft deck because I'm heavy into it.
Yeah, I think the draft has got to, and this is the off season, so I think the draft is going to. We're not going to have a lot of time.
There will be a draft, regardless if there's a season or not. Yeah. There will be some sort of draft.
For sure. All right, folks.
Folks, said Alan Walsh will donate.
Oh, he's already donated enough. Trust me. He's donated plenty for his lifetime.
He's donated a block on Twitter, which is great for me because I don't have to see his stupid.
He blocks you too, huh?
He blocked me. Oh yes.
Wow.
I don't think he blocked me, so there you go.
Well, he blocked me because I called him out on the Marek Wyshynski podcast 8 years ago for being the reason for the lockout.
Yeah, that's a good one. That'll definitely do it. Yeah, you can get blocked for way less than that, Mike. That you really did a good. That's a serious blocking thing. But man, there are way better. I mean, I got retroactively blocked by him. That was the funniest thing ever. Like he had announced he was on Twitter, and then within a minute of that, I went to follow him on Twitter, and I was blocked before he had like 100 followers.
I said only a man with guilt because Alan Walsh tweets every minute of the day, and I said only a man with guilt in his heart tweets every moment of the day.
Oh yeah, and man, if I could ever tell my Alan Walsh story, I could sell it too. I mean,
I'm going to go so far as to say I just saw a tweet of his, like he's like, here are some games that the NHL should show, while we're on this break, and it's like now he's a master of programming too. I think this is part of the problem with Alan.
I take his advice on that because they've already shown. Boston, Toronto, Game 7 in 2013, 3 times in 2.5 weeks.
Yes, I know. They just want to hurt Mike badly. They just want to.
Sons of bitches.
They just want to hurt you badly. I will not tell the Alan Walsh story. Nope, you got to get me really. You have to get me drunk, and I don't drink. So there you go.
You have to give at least $1,000 a month for Patreon.
Yeah, yes. If you donate $1,000, I will call you up and I will tell you the Alan Walsh story.
There you go.
I'll personally call you and tell you the story. I promise you. But otherwise, I will take it to my grave, and it's something nice to hang over his head, actually. So I like not telling it because I know it, and he knows it, and he knows if I ever tell it. Anyway, so there you go.
Breaking news.
Okay.
What?
Lindsay Lohan has a single out. Let's hear it. Hold on.
No, let's not.
Nope, we're doing it.
Okay. Remember, without the buzz.
Oh, she's not going to play it. She's just showing video. All right. It's just
Once upon a time, Alan Walsh called me when I was at anyway.
What is this, Mama from Genesis?
Yeah,
I was doing my little fireside story for you guys.
Okay, ready?
Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will talk to you tomorrow.